The console wars have once again grown fierce. Unfortunately, pandemic-induced scarcity has made these arguments oftentimes less fun and more angry. But regardless of which device you like the most, both consoles from Microsoft and Sony bring some good ideas to the table. And today, we're going to talk about the Xbox Series X features we most want to see come to the PS5. The Xbox Series X has been marketed as the most powerful console ever, period. And we here at The Gamer don't dispute the latest Xbox's technical superiority, but we're not going to suggest the PS5 go out there and find a nicer CPU, because that's no fun. We're going to talk about all the features of the Xbox Series X that could, reasonably, get patched right into the PS5 anytime in its lifespan. That out of the way, buckle up, and let's jump into the Xbox features we most want on PS5. The latest Xbox natively supports 1440p, which means you can hook up what is traditionally a gaming monitor to your Xbox no problem. 1440p gaming monitors also often tend to come with Freesync support packed in, AMD's variable refresh rate display technology, which Xbox also supports. Unfortunately, on PS5, you're forced to choose between display resolutions of either 1080p or 4K with no other options. This is a very simple fix because games can still run at an internal rendering resolution of 1080p or be downscaled from 4K to 1440p, just as well as 1080p. Technically speaking, there's no great challenge or coding feat necessary, and this fix could be pushed out quickly to simply give gamers more flexibility in their choice of display. With more robust 1440p in the market, games could target 1440p resolutions instead of 4K, dedicating resources to more consistent frame rates or better visual effects too. Traditionally, Sony's response to 1440p support has been, why bother? Because Sony as a company also makes and produces televisions, which tend to operate at 1080p or 4K resolutions. And it doesn't make sense for Sony to push gamers out of the Sony Fold without a high enough level of demand. As mentioned previously, the Xbox Series X supports Freesync. Freesync is AMD's version of NVIDIA's G-Sync technology. This technology essentially allows for a more direct connection between your GPU and a FreeSync-enabled display. This way, instead of having a set, static refresh rate games try to consistently output at, your monitor will dynamically adjust its refresh rate to the frame rate of the game being played, eliminating entirely the stutter and judder inherent to uncapped frame rates. This is a huge change to the way games are played, and games that once ranged from 45 FPS to 60 FPS depending on the load and the scene can feel remarkably smooth, because the stutter introduced by jumping between these frame rates can be eliminated by FreeSync. FreeSync support is becoming quite common in the monitor world, and it's becoming slowly more common in TVs too. And it's not particularly intensive technology, so it can be patched into PS5 no problem. You will still need a FreeSync-capable display to make use of this feature, even if it comes to PS5. If FreeSync support becomes a mainstream feature of gaming alongside G-Sync, developers can spend less time optimizing games simply to hit a target frame rate, and instead optimize their games to run as well as they can, so we can enjoy fruits of higher frame rates even if we can't maintain them every second. For last-generation games, whether it was on the PS4 or the Xbox One, both next-generation consoles have robust support available. However, once you start looking beyond the Xbox One and PS4 and back into the 360 and PS3 generation, things get a lot bleaker. The PS5 has no support to speak of, while Microsoft has a good collection of 360 and even original Xbox games available for playing on the Series X. Now, it's true that the PS3 was a lot more difficult to develop for than the 360, and as a result, updating PS3 games to run on PS4 is a much more complicated endeavor than running 360 games on a Series X. But just as Microsoft doesn't support every 360 game, if PlayStation even offers a small selection of backwards compatibility, perhaps alongside resolution and frame rate increases of popular PS3 games, this would go a long way. For even earlier PlayStation games, the cry for backwards compatibility isn't confused at all. The PS5 is more than capable of playing these games, and many wouldn't even necessarily be opposed to buying them again, if they came alongside at least a resolution bump and maybe some trophy support and online connectivity. Microsoft's Game Pass does definitely transcend the Xbox Series X, but it's still an important feature of the Series X. And it's certainly what gamers have been crying out for on PlayStation more than anything else. Gaming continues to be an expensive hobby, and with many game releases a year, many gamers are priced out of enjoying many things. With a Game Pass-style subscription service, the barrier to entry to becoming a fan of video games goes way, way down. And with more gamers out there, all gamers win. Sony does offer the PlayStation Collection on PS5, which is a decent selection of popular PS4 games, but this isn't a true competitor to Game Pass. PS Now does do some game streaming and allows for downloading games, but it's nowhere near as robust, cost-effective, and easy to use as Game Pass. Sony has hinted that they have more news coming about subscription-style services, so it stands to reason we'll be seeing something from the company aimed at the Games Pass market in the somewhat near future. The number one PS5 feature we want to see on Xbox? A better controller. The DualSense is a genuine evolution of the controller, a gamble that's finally paying off for Sony, while Microsoft is lagging behind. But unfortunately, that requires more hardware change than software.